Before listen, lock your door.
Subscribe for daily horror story.
First story.
My dad used to say, if you hear someone knocking in the woods at night, don't knock back. It's not a person. It's something looking for a way in. He only said it once. I used to think he was just trying to scare me. Now I know he wasn't. Last October, I planned a solo camping weekend, 2 nights alone. No cell reception, no distractions, just quiet. I brought my journal, a headlamp, and a dog-eared copy of The Terror by Dan Simmons. That book always keeps me good company in the cold. I picked a spot near White Oak, Western Virginia, up in the high Appalachians, a place I'd marked once on an old forestry map. No official trails ran through it, but the terrain was manageable, and the satellite imagery showed a flat shelf between 2 ridges. It took me about 6 miles of hiking to get there. The woods grew thick the deeper I went, mostly yellow birch and hemlocks. Moss covered everything. The air was cool and still. By the time I found the spot, it was late afternoon. A flat clearing, maybe 20 feet across, tucked beside a crumbling stone wall, probably remnants of an old settler's foundation. It looked perfect. No trash, no fire rings, no footprints. But that should have been the first warning, because some places are untouched for a reason. I dropped my pack, set up the tent, filtered water, ate a dry protein bar while scribbling in my notebook. I realized later what I hadn't noticed then. There were no sounds, no birds, no insects, no chipmunks darting in the brush. Just that heavy, unnatural silence that makes you feel like the woods are holding their breath. I tried to brush it off. Cold weather maybe, or just elevation. But even when I boiled water for tea and sat listening to the wind, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It wasn't just quiet. It was wrong. Like the silence wasn't absence, it was observation. Like the forest wasn't empty. It was waiting. The first knock came just after dusk. Knock, knock, knock. 3 solid taps, evenly spaced. Not close, but not far, maybe 30 feet into the trees, right behind my tent. I froze. It wasn't a branch falling, not an echo. Too deliberate, too hollow. I sat there for 10 full minutes. Then nothing. Told myself it might have been a woodpecker, echoing weird off the trees. Maybe something shifted in the old stone wall. Still, every hair on my arm stayed standing. By the time full darkness settled, I was zipped into my tent. Didn't even light a fire. I woke up at 3:12 a.m., cold, alert, wide-eyed, like I'd never fallen asleep. And then, I heard it again. Knock, knock, knock. Closer this time, right behind the tent. I held my breath. Then came a whisper, so soft, I almost missed it. Are you awake? It wasn't a question. It was a test. Then, a second voice answered. He's listening. Different tone, same cadence. Like an echo with just enough wrong to make your skin crawl. I didn't move, didn't breathe. My heart was thudding so hard I thought it might give me away. I slowly unzipped the flap an inch and peeked out. The fog had rolled in thick and low, curling like smoke between the trees. I aimed my light into the woods. Nothing, no eye shine, no figures. But the air felt like it was pressing against me, watching. I stayed like that for almost 2 hours, and during that time, the knocking returned. Again, again, again. Sometimes closer, sometimes further. Never in the same place twice. No footsteps. Just the knock stopped like it didn't walk. It just appeared. When dawn finally broke, the forest looked normal again. Just dew and quiet. But behind the tent, I found something new. On the trunk of the nearest birch. 3 long indentations, perfectly parallel, about a foot each. Not claw marks. Not carved knuckle-shaped, like someone had stood there knocking with a closed, bony fist. I packed up in silence. Didn't eat. Didn't journal. Just moved. 2 miles south, I found another small clearing. Made camp again. This time in the open. with wide sight lines. I figured whatever it was, I'd left it behind. I was wrong, because that night, at 3:12 a.m., it came back. Knock, 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 and then a voice. My own voice. Right outside the tent. Don't move. Something inside me snapped. I didn't pack, didn't zip the tent. I just ran, took my flashlight, my knife, and nothing else. Sprinted down the slope, cut through brush, fell twice, didn't stop running until I reached the old forest road where I'd parked. It was dawn. The car was untouched, except when I opened the driver's door, something was waiting for me. A stick, 6 inches long, laid neatly on the driver's seat. It was carved with 3 rings at one end. Knock, knock, knock. I drove the whole way home without turning on the radio. Didn't sleep that night. 3 nights later, I woke up at exactly 3:12 a.m., not in a tent, not in the woods, in my apartment, in bed, and from the other side of the second story. My closed window. I heard it tap, 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 3 knocks. I live on the 2nd floor, and there's no balcony. Next time you hear knocking in the Appalachian woods, don't knock back. Don't answer. Don't speak. It already knows your voice. And now, it wants to learn where you live.
Second story.
My uncle used to say, if you're camping alone in the Appalachians and hear footsteps at night, don't call out. It's not someone looking for help. It's something checking if you're alone. I used to laugh when he said that. Thought it was just old mountain paranoia. I don't laugh anymore. I've camped solo since college. Backcountry. No phones. No distractions. Just firelight and silence. That kind of stillness most people find unnerving. I've always found comforting. Until last October, I'd gone deep into western North Carolina, past Miller's Gap, past the trail markers, off any map hikers usually follow. I picked a ridge that overlooked a narrow creek bed, flat ground, no wind, no other tents for miles. Perfect. By sundown, I had a fire going, water filtered, dinner boiling in a bag. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Not a single bird call. No wind moving the branches. Even the bugs had gone still. I chalked it up to altitude. By 11:30 p.m., I was zipped into my sleeping bag. The fire burned down to soft red coals. I drifted off until 2:46 a.m. I didn't check the time. I didn't have to, because I woke up to the sound of a twig snapping right outside my tent. One sharp break, then silence. Not wind, not an animal scuttling. It was a step, deliberate, human-paced. I held my breath, didn't move, listened. Then another step, this time, on leaves, closer, soft, bare, no crunch of boots, no click of claws. I reached for my flashlight, didn't switch it on, just gripped it like a weapon. Then came more steps, circling the tent, slow, steady, like someone pacing, listening. They stopped at the rear wall. Then, breathing, not mine, low, raspy, 5 feet from my head. I whispered, hello. Big mistake. The breathing stopped. Then something whispered back, in my exact voice, hello. Every hair on my body stood up. I sat up fast, unzipped the tent, swung the light into the trees. Nothing but my fire. The one I'd let die out hours ago. It was burning again. Full flame, wood stacked neatly. I hadn't left any firewood. I should have run right then. Left everything behind. But I didn't. I stayed. And when I finally fell asleep again, I dreamed of the woods. But I wasn't walking in them. I was watching from them. Watching my own tent from a distance. A glowing shape in the darkness. And behind me, something breathing. Close. Warm. Watching me watch myself. At dawn, I packed everything in 10 minutes. No coffee, no food. Just gone. But a mile down the trail, I noticed something in the mud that made my stomach turn. Footprints. Not mine. Bare. Feet long. Deep. Parallel to my boot prints. Like something had been pacing beside me all night. I hadn't heard it, hadn't seen it, but it had been there. I told my uncle when I got home. He didn't react the way I thought he would. He just asked, "Did it whisper back in your voice?" I nodded. He went quiet for a long time, then said, "Then it knows you." Now, it's been 7 months. I haven't gone camping since, but every night, I wake up at exactly 2:46 a.m., even in my apartment, 3 floors up, far from the tree line, and sometimes I hear footsteps, slow, deliberate, outside my bedroom door. If you ever camp alone in the Appalachians and hear something circling your tent, don't speak, don't move, don't give it your voice, because once it knows your voice, it just wants to learn your face.
Third story.
My grandfather once told me, if you ever hear 2 voices arguing in the woods at night, don't interrupt. There's never a second person, only something trying to sound like one. I used to think that was just an old mountain myth, something he said to scare me away from solo hiking. Now I know better. Last fall, I took a weekend trip near Black Balsam Knob. No trails, no campsites, just me and a topo map. I parked 5 miles down a forest road, hiked in most of the day, and found a clearing by a narrow stream flat, quiet, surrounded by close-growing trees that blocked even the mid-afternoon light. Perfect. I set up camp by 5 p.m., boiled some coffee, marked my GPS coordinates in my field notebook. By dark, the fire burned out on its own. I remember thinking how still everything was. Even the wind had stopped at 1:30 a.m. I woke up, not because I was cold, not because of a sound, because of 2 sounds. 2 voices, male, low, arguing except not loudly, almost like they were pretending to whisper, like they didn't really understand how humans talk in secret. They came from somewhere behind the tent. I froze. I hadn't heard any footsteps earlier, no rustling, no lights, and the way the voices spoke was wrong. One voice would mumble a few words, then silence. Then the second voice would repeat the same phrase, but with different emphasis, slightly off, like an echo trying to learn. I slowly unzipped the tent, an inch, just enough to peek through. No one, no flashlights, no campfire, just mist, fireflies hovering low to the ground, and trees, too many trees. Then one voice whispered, "I see him." And the second one said, "I see him too." But the forest was empty. I zipped the tent shut, held my breath. Then I heard the footsteps, slow, dragging, circling the tent. A shadow appeared on the nylon wall, just one silhouette, not 2. It stopped on the side, closest to my head, leaned forward, and whispered in my voice, "Are you going to invite me in?" I didn't respond. I didn't sleep. I sat there for hours, with a knife in my lap. Shaking at dawn, I unzipped the tent. The clearing was empty, but on the far edge, something was waiting. A circle of small stones, each carved with a strange symbol. In the center, a rabbit's foot, fresh, still wet. My backpack had been opened. Nothing stolen, except my field notebook. 2 days later, I was back home. Tried to laugh it off. Blamed it on stress, cold air, too much caffeine. But that night, at exactly 1:30 a.m., I woke up again. Not in a tent, not in the woods. In my own apartment, and outside the bedroom window. I heard them, the same 2 voices, whispering, arguing, practicing. I didn't move. I didn't speak. At sunrise, I opened my front door, and there it was. My field notebook, sitting neatly on the welcome mat, open too. A page I hadn't written, 4 words, scribbled over and over, "Let me come in." Next time you're alone in the Appalachian woods and hear 2 people arguing, don't speak. Because one of them already sounds like you. The other one just wants your name.
Fourth story.
My grandmother once told me, if a place feels too quiet to be real, don't sleep there. That silence isn't peace, it's a warning. I didn't understand what she meant. Not until the last time I camped alone in Appalachia. I've been solo camping for years. More than 20 trips Shenandoah, The Smokies, Blue Ridge Gaps, so remote, you don't see another soul for days. I know how to read wind, wildlife, and instinct, but some things don't leave tracks. I found the clearing in early April, deep, in a ravine between two steep ridges untouched. Perfect. A narrow creek snaked through it, flowing over smooth stone. No footprints, no old fire rings, not even trash. It felt like a place no one had ever been. Now, I think maybe no one was ever supposed to by 4 p.m. I had the tent set, firewood stacked, water boiled, but something was off. The silence was hollow, like the woods had pressed pause. No wind, no birds, not even bugs ticking against the nylon. I told myself it was just the season, but as night fell, the sound of the creek changed. It wasn't flowing anymore. It was pulsing, like breath. I walked down to check it. The water looked the same, but the way it caught the moonlight, like there was something just below the surface, watching from inside. I went back to the tent, zipped in. That was my second mistake. The first was choosing that place at all. At exactly 2:11 a.m., I woke up, not from a sound, but a rhythm knock. Knock, knock, dot soft, deliberate dot, not on the tent. On the ground, I held my breath, unzipped the flap a few inches, shined my light. Nothing but the creek, gone, where water had flowed hours ago. Now there was only dry stone, no algae, no mud, just smooth, clean rock. I stepped closer and saw them, footprints bare, wet, human, leading from the creek bed straight to the edge of my tent. No return prints. I turned. No one there. I packed fast. Didn't eat, didn't speak, just walked. Used my GPS to retrace the trail, but something was wrong. The waypoint I'd saved before bed, gone. A new one had appeared on my screen. It read, water, I never saved. That I tapped it. A message opened. Drink first. I tore the watch off and threw it into the woods, kept walking north. But 2 hours later, just as the sky began to lighten, I stepped into the same exact clearing, my tent, my fire pit, my coffee kettle still warm. I had been walking in circles. I bolted, didn't stop until I saw the gravel road, and then my car. Back in town, I stopped at a gas station to breathe, to wash my face. When I reached into my jacket pocket, there was something smooth, a stone, round, cold. I hadn't packed. It thought. One word was scratched into it. Stay. That night, I spiked a fever, dreamt of kneeling by the creek, drinking from it. The water was black, and as I drank, I heard it again. Knock, 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 closer, and closer, and closer. Next time you find a perfect campsite by a stream so quiet, it hums, don't sleep there. If the water vanishes, it was never meant to be found, and if something leaves you a stone, it wants to remember where you went.